Hey, what's up everybody, this is Circle501 and today I want to go over the new patch notes and information we have on the newest state of the game for Division 2. Now there's some stuff in it I'm not going to go over because it really isn't that big of a deal, like this matchmaking back-end stuff and some other stuff. But I haven't been playing Division 2 for like the past week and I probably won't play till this update comes out. There's not really much to do, and if you guys followed when like the raid and stuff was supposed to come out, it was already supposed to be out like a week ago or more. So content being pushed back like that does kind of make a lot of people stop playing, especially when it's this early on in the life of a, AAA $60 game, when content that is told you the dates is going to be coming out and they push it back for quite a while. It does suck and stop a lot of people from playing, and I really don't have anything else to do in it besides try to get some extra, percentage rolls that really aren't going to help me that much. Now the PTS is going to be shutting down. They said they got what they want from it. It'll be shut down today, so it's probably already down. Title update is next week, so a week after the 8th. The raid will be added shortly after the update is out, so I'm assuming a week after. Usually, like I'd assume that would be a good time, unless they're going to add it within the week. I don't know if there's going to be any stuff to actually unlock the raid, like any missions or anything like that. I wouldn't doubt it. So next up we have the title update 3 actual changes. There's some matchmaking backend stuff. Don't really want to go over that. The GS or the Gear Score 500 plus topic, they go into detail about this later in this post. But the TLDR is they don't want it right now, which is by far the best choice. Basically rendering a lot of the farming we've done useless again is terrible. That's, I think, a lot of the reason me and a lot of other people have kind of stopped farming or just waiting for other stuff to come out, is we're changing so many talents, making a lot of the builds and stuff people farmed a lot less powerful and making them basically have to go re-farm stuff to get as strong as they were. This already happened before with gears, or from World Tier 4 to World Tier 5, increasing that gear score did make a pretty powerful or a big power jump. So basically made all the farming you did there a lot less meaningful once World Tier 5 came out. So I'm glad they're not going to be doing that again, which would just make, all the farming you already did a lot less powerful for another time super early into the game's life. Gear Score 500 farm locations, contaminated loot in the dark zone once you've reached 500 gear score. So this is all stuff once you've reached 500 gear score, you'll get only 500 gear score stuff from certain things. They were saying before there was going to be all loot, but I guess it's only from certain stuff now, which still really doesn't make sense. So a lot of the game is still going to be just stuff you're not going to use because it's not gear score 500 probably. Heroic, so the contaminated loot in the dark zone, so I guess all contaminated loot. I'm wondering if non-contaminated loot is just going to be random again, which is a bit weird. Heroic difficulty mission bosses, stronghold bosses, so I'm assuming they mean heroic difficulty stronghold bosses because it does not specifically say, it just says it right after. Bounty bosses, which I can assume heroic difficulty bounty bosses again, and control point level 4, which are heroic difficulty, will give you containers that guarantee your gear score 500 drops when the players reach gear score 500. I'm wondering what those containers are. Are they like a cache that gives you a weapon and armor piece and can roll bonus? Or is it just you get one completely random piece of loot from doing all that, which would make the Gear Score 500 stuff not very plentiful at all. The daily mission also guarantee Gear Score 500 items once the players reach Gear Score 500. So the daily mission reward will just be Gear Score 500 as well, which will help. I think this probably would have still been better if they just made it once you reach Gear Score 500. Stuff gave you Gear Score 500 stuff. With how the game is, even getting just Gear Score 500 stuff, you are still getting a massive amount, like hundreds to thousands of items of stuff that you just want to throw away because the rolls aren't good for maybe the build you're going for, or even any build with how the game is, being, percentage rolls are decent damage increases or decreases, and, the different talents and all that type of stuff. So I still think just having all high-end drops being Gear Score 500 once you reach that would have been much better. But this is still decent, especially without having higher than that gear score. it's definitely still pretty decent. There's some combination changes. Really don't want to go over. I don't think barely anyone, or I guess a lot of the player base probably doesn't even know about these. They don't really give much of anything. Crafting, which are pretty big changes, increase the base cap of receiver components and protective fabric crafting materials by 500, meaning that their caps now start at 350 and end at 600 once you have the perks. Still way too low. These are the things that when you deconstruct stuff, you get them, like they're the white materials. Do you need like, what is it, like 60 or 80 for crafting certain things? Still way too low. There shouldn't be caps. Like the cap should be 500 or more, or 5,000 I mean, or more for pretty much everything. These arbitrary caps to be able to craft like 4 or 5 things and then go have to farm all of those materials again is pretty ridiculous, especially if you're not crafting anything, because there's not a lot of great stuff to craft. You're just capped all the time and you're just leaving stuff all over the ground because the caps are so ridiculously low for whatever reason. That system still needs completely reworked. Crafting, even with like new gear sets coming out being able to be crafted, like crafting is still pretty useless, especially with that low cap. So the lady that stands next to the crafting station is now the crafting vendor. The goal is to also make blueprints more accessible, so she basically sells all the blueprints and stuff like that. Craft exotics will not always upgrade to the maximum gear score to the world tier they are crafted in when the upgrade blueprint is used. Thank God. It was completely ridiculous having to farm these exotics that took a lot to farm and then have them be like 490 with really no way to upgrade them because the upgrade blueprints required, like, you couldn't use that one really. So that's good there. Gear changes. Armor, among other things, they want to make the gear score a more viable choice, and also the players are able to invest in armor and also feel tankier than they are now. Or gear sets, I guess, more viable. So gear sets, hardwired now grants skill damage instead of shock duration. Ongoing directive now grants special ammunition to any weapon, including the weapon currently equipped. Now grants special ammunition on any kill, not just weapon kills. True Patriot decreased debuff cycle from 4 to 2 seconds. Increased damage dealt to nearby enemies when full-fledged active to 50%. I don't think this is going to make any of these sets used by anyone still. Maybe like True Patriot in the raid. The issue with these sets is that they have to be so incredibly powerful because you have to use every piece to get like the best thing at the bottom, pretty much a thing you want to use, like the 6 out of 6 and the 5 out of 6, that you have to make them ridiculously strong to get rid of 6 high-end talents, or more than 6 talents, because you can have multiple talents on pieces. All of those high-end talents for these pieces, like, you have to make them super strong, and these sets still aren't going to be that way. They would have to buff them quite a bit to make them actually used with anything, because all these sets also like have some stipulation that you have to do something to make them work, when if using high end you could get 6 elite damage rolls. Well, you just have a shit ton of damage to elites. These ones you have to do something to make them actually active, and especially how AI work, you don't have a lot of time to do that type of stuff. Loot change: improved quality and quantity of drone helicopter loot, significantly reduced the maximum available loot from clan caches, increased ammunition drop from enemy NPCs to decrease situations where players would run out of ammunition during prolonged fights on higher difficulty activities. Lower the chances that loot drops with lower gear score than the average gear score of the player. So basically increases the chance of getting, or of getting gear score stuff that's lower than you, basically. So I don't know exactly how much that's going to be, because if your gear score 500, then that should make you get mostly gear score 500 stuff, which kind of seems a bit different from the stuff that we're talking about up top, but who knows. Heroic difficulty: mission bosses, stronghold bosses, bounty bosses, and control point level 4 will give you containers that guarantee your gear score 500 drops when the players reach gear score 500. Dark zone contaminated loot will drop below the player gear score, or contaminated loot drop below the player's gear score and will guarantee your gear score 500 when the players reach a gear score. I don't know if they actually had this sentence correctly. Exotics having their damage increase across the board, which is very good. Hopefully they become Actually useful, that would be nice. I'm wondering if Nemesis is going to have his damage increase, because if Nemesis gets a damage increase like the other exotics will, Nemesis could very much be an incredible... It's already a pretty strong weapon, but it could be ridiculously strong if it has its damage increase as well. Post-mission summary screen, just some changes. The new mods, auxiliary mod battery, or skill battery. Fit in skill mods and grant skill power that allow you to unlock mods with higher gear power requirement. We talked about this before on the last time I talked about when they basically told us about these. It's a band-aid fix that's not really good at all. So basically how this works is it's another mod type you can get. Yay, just, you know, widening the pool so it's more impossible to get actually good high-level mods. But basically, these mods drop as just a skill power increase to that skill. So it fills up one of the slots, basically making people who don't use skill power builds, which is basically everybody, be able to use one mod in it, which still really isn't a good fix at all. Even if you'll be able to use a good mod in that, it's still halving the power. So why don't they just make much lower power mods that we have now, skill mods, so we don't get a new mod type and can just put 2 lower power mods in there, which is kind of what they're doing with being able to craft like blue skill mods. It's a really bad change in my opinion. Recalibration remake. Recalibration has been changed to allow the majority of stats to be moved as they are from one item to another, while making it less likely to reach the cap of the stat move. To achieve this goal, we're expressing the recalibrated power as a separate number next to the gear score. As such, the recalibration will no longer increase the gear score of the item. All existing recalibrated items will have their recalibrated additional gear score converted to the new format. So basically, I've talked about this before, is recalibration. Now the stats you're changing should not reach the cap near as often. It should be pretty rare to actually reach the cap. So you should overall get a lot more power from recalibrating. It'll have a scale from 0 to 100 to tell you how much you could actually get. From that, the gear score doesn't go up, but when you're recalibrating item from the 0 to 100 scale, with a new scale, it will increase the armor, like how it would happen if you increase the gear score of the item before. So this is overall probably the best change they're making. A really good change. You're going to have a lot more power. You're going to have a lot more say in how your stats are actually rolled, and you're not going to increase your gear score for some unknown reason, just to have a higher number, basically. Enemy NPC changes. Decrease damage of veteran, elite, and named NPCs. Greatly reduce the melee damage of tank NPCs. Moderately decrease melee damage of all other NPCs. Accuracy of your grenade throwers have been reduced, and enemy NPCs should no longer be able to stagger players with a melee attack if a player has a ballistic shield equipped. So pretty good changes. Damage decreases all across the board. So veteran, elite, and named. The lower enemies aren't that crazy. Greatly reduce the melee damage of tank NPCs. That's pretty good, so they're not one-shotting you. Moderately decrease all melee of all other NPCs. Hopefully this means they will not one-shot you all the time. That's very nice. Accuracy of grenades. That's pretty nice because they would not miss their grenades. They were always on you. So that's some pretty good changes. They still didn't decrease the aggro of NPCs, really. That's still like the main issue. Like they're damaged. I mean, there is some stuff with ridiculous damage, but if they would like stay in cover and actually play as a cover-based, third-person shooter, it would be fine that they do more damage because they wouldn't all be rushing around your cover, basically making a lot of the cover in the game completely useless. But these are some pretty good changes. Friendly NPC changes. Civilians now wear protective gear. Upgrading a settlement also increases the civilians' damage. Civilian hostages are now more protective of their lives. All pretty good. Control points. The alert level impact will now be more clearly communicated. Hard to heroic. Hostile patrols and convoys are now communicated better during takeovers. Civilian officers can revive you during takeovers. That's pretty cool, actually. Civilian takeover can now be used as a respawn point, and you can now fast travel to friendly takeovers and convoys. A lot of really good changes. Pretty much all these changes here are really good changes to the open world and control points. Skills. Assault drone, PvE, the drone will now more actively look for a new target once it loses its current target. That's very good. Basically, the assault drone, when you sent it out, it would start attacking something, but you'd have to send it to something else, which a lot of those abilities made them really not fun to play with because you had to constantly be pressing another button just having to attack stuff. So hopefully this is like the turret, that it just attacks everything really quickly, which would be really nice. I could definitely see if that works like that, that a lot of people will be using the turret and assault drone, because you can basically just throw these out and they can go attack tons of stuff while you're doing other stuff, which definitely will help. Defender drone will now drain more quickly once a shot has been deflected. Reinforced chem launcher, gas clouds do not stack anymore. This kind of sucks. So basically how this would work is you had the chem launcher and you could basically place multiple at a time, which would make both the heals be on you at once. So now you're going to have to wait, which make the healing over time longer, which kind of sucks, but it doesn't make sense, I guess. Definitely people with higher ammo amounts for these, like 6, 7, could always have like 2 or 3 at their feet at a time, which is pretty overpowered. Reviver Hive, fix further occurrence of player not being revived. Hopefully that's completely fixed. Revive timer slightly increased. Hopefully with them increasing the revive time, that they actually fix them not working half the time. That'd be pretty nice. Riot foam launcher, increased base duration of riot foam when used against an NPC. Scanner pulse, reduced cooldown from 120 to 90 seconds. It seems they're really liking pulses, especially with the gear set being completely built around pulses and stuff like that. Conflict armor boost, provided reduced by 50%. PvP balancing, among other things. Players are now normalized to gear score 500. Assault rifles now have a 1.25 PvP damage scaler applied, so basically 25% damage increase, I'm pretty sure. I think it was one before. Pretty nice. Assault rifles will actually be useful. PvP damage modifier has been decreased, longer time to kill. Skill modifier has been increased, skills do more damage. So the PvP damage modifier, I think, was going down to 40% from like 70, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going down quite a bit. I don't think it was from 100. I forget, but it's going down quite a bit. So the time to kill is a lot lower, which will make PvP a lot better. Maybe you can't get one tap by, snipers all the time now, which would be nice. Dark Zone contaminated loot. Bosses now guaranteed a contaminated loot drop. Higher challenge. Landmarks can now drop multiple contaminated items. Basic veteran and elite NPCs have had their loot drop rate lowered, but now have a very high chance to drop contaminated loot. So this is kind of weird. So the overall loot is dropped, but now they pretty much only drop contaminated loot. I think that's how they're saying. Dark Zone bag size and okay, I guess increase. These are just a change of these, but default bag size increased to 6. Tier 1 perk now increases it to 8. Tier 4 perk now reduces Dark Zone XP loss on death. Tier 10 perk increases bag size to 10, so max bag size is 10, so that's double, if I'm not mistaken. Dark Zone brackets reduce bracketing to level 1 to 30, players and world tiers. So bring everyone a lot closer together in the Dark Zone, so it's actually going to be PvP. I'm not really a fan of PvP in Division 1 or 2, but if people are fans of PvP, they can actually PvP a lot more with people, which will be nice. All the Dark Zones aren't empty. Rogue removed cooldown. There's still a 5-second toggle cooldown. Occupied Dark Zone damage modifiers added a separate PvP damage modifier. XP reduced. Dark Zone XP loss of 35% of XP in your current Dark Zone rank when being killed. So that's nice. To 35% of the current Dark Zone rank when being killed. So I'm wondering if this can still derank you. It's weird how they put it here, so not exactly sure on that. Console performance increases. The stream move texture has been improved on consoles. And then we have the development update, gear score, entitled update 3. So this is basically, I don't need to go over all this. This is basically just them talking about why they don't want to increase the gear score past 500. You guys can go read this on this post if you want to. It's, the top post on the Division 2 Reddit. That's pretty much it. They do talk about all the different reasons why they don't want to go above. And, what's going to give gear score 500 stuff. I completely agree with this. They don't need to increase the gear score anymore. It's just basically arbitrarily, decreasing the farming we've already done and making it less powerful, which is never good. It never, it's already happened in this game before. It's going to happen again right now because have a bunch of talent changes and stuff, which isn't in here. It must be in more patch notes, but I just want to go over this post specifically. It's never good when you're in a complete loot-based game like this, a looter shooter, where multiple times in a couple months of the game's release, basically all the gear you farmed, you know, has its power completely reduced because you can get higher tier stuff. So that never feels good, and it makes a lot of players not want to farm it out, or just stop playing the game and waiting for those updates to come out. But anyways, that's all the changes I currently want to go over. I'm still not playing the game right now. Hopefully I want to play the game when it comes out with the update. There just has been nothing to do, and like I said, you know, pushing back content that's been told when it's going to be released pretty much since the launch of the game never feels good, especially on a game that, or especially I guess in a climate of video games where pretty much all the top games constantly give new content, and that's what everyone expects out of most video games now, is that, you know, we always want new stuff and that everyone goes through stuff so quickly. And overall, just games now compared to like 10 years ago don't really have as much in them. It's still pretty expected, especially for AAA games, to, you know, kind of meet the times that they tell us they're going to release stuff. But enough of that. Subscribe if you want to see more Division 2 content. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you think about Division 2 as a whole, what you think about all these updates, and thanks for watching.